We met in the most unexpected way, through a mutual friend during a small weekend gathering. She was quiet but thoughtful, the kind of person who noticed small things, who listened more than she spoke. I was drawn to her calm energy. It was refreshing. Unlike anyone I had dated before. Let's call her Sarah. At the time, I had just come out of a difficult divorce. My focus was on raising my teenage son and advancing my firefighting career. I wasn't looking for anything serious. But from the very first conversation, I knew there was something different about her. We spent hours that night talking about everything: childhood memories, travel, books, philosophy, and even our past heartbreaks. It felt natural. Like meeting someone you were supposed to have met a long time ago. What started as casual texts quickly turned into daily conversations. Morning greetings. Late-night calls. Inside jokes. Shared Spotify playlists. Then came the trips. We met up halfway between our cities at first, exploring small towns, hiking trails, staying up late in rented cabins. She loved old bookstores and red wine. I loved seeing her smile when she was in her element. It was the kind of connection that makes you believe in fate. 3 months in, I introduced her to my best friend. 6 months in, I told my son about her. A year in, I was making plans to relocate closer to her. We weren't just in love, we were building a shared vision. And despite the distance, I felt closer to her than anyone in years. But somewhere around year 2, things began to shift. It started subtly. Less excitement in her voice. Less energy in our calls. I chalked it up to stress. She had been open about her past trauma, about dealing with bouts of depression and anxiety. I knew this part of her. I had promised to be patient. Calls started ending earlier. She wouldn't pick up after 8 p.m. anymore. She said she needed sleep, and I believed her. She stopped sending photos from her day, something she used to do every single morning. No more selfies from work, or quick snaps of her lunch, or little videos of her pets. It was silence. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I had become too distracted. Maybe school and work were consuming too much of me. But then came the instinct. That gut feeling we all get when something doesn't sit right. I started noticing patterns. Consistencies in her absences. Carefully timed replies. No more video calls unless she was alone in her car. If I asked to see her surroundings, she got defensive. Told me I was getting controlling, that I needed to trust her. And I did. God, I tried. I trusted her because I loved her. Because everything we had built up to that point told me she was worth it. Even when I started asking directly if someone else was in the picture, I did it gently. I asked not because I didn't trust her, but because I was afraid. She always denied it. Always. She said things like, "You know I would never do that to you," and, "It's just stress, I promise." I believed her. I held on to those words like they were life preservers in a storm. But the calls kept ending earlier. Her responses became more robotic. Sometimes she wouldn't text for hours and then say she just needed a break from her phone. Meanwhile, I was doing everything I could to prepare a future for us. Working long shifts. Studying late into the night. Saving up to bring her closer or make the move myself. I kept our dreams alive, even when she seemed too tired to talk about them. And through it all, I never stopped showing up. Birthdays. Anniversaries. Random Tuesdays. I flew down regularly. We had weekends filled with laughter, passion, connection. Just 2 weeks before she cut me off completely, we made love like we always did, slow, deliberate, full of meaning. Or so I thought. She told me she wished I hadn't gotten a vasectomy. That she dreamed of having a child with me. That if timing had been different, she would have built a life with me already. I have those texts. I reread them sometimes, wondering how someone could say those words while living another life. Because what I didn't know, what she never once hinted at, was that she had already moved in with another man. The realization didn't come all at once. It built gradually, like a slow, rising tide. There were more signs, more inconsistencies. I started seeing reflections in the background of her videos, things she said belonged to her mom's house, but looked unfamiliar. Once, I spotted a child's backpack on the floor. She said it was a relative visiting. Another time, I heard a man's voice faintly in the background, and she said it was the neighbor through thin apartment walls. It was always something. Always an excuse. But what finally triggered the shift from suspicion to certainty was something seemingly small. A missed phone call. I had called her late one night, something I rarely did because she usually went to bed early. The call rang longer than it should have, and when she finally answered, she was breathless, disoriented. She said she was asleep. But I heard something, a door, maybe, or a shuffle. And then silence. It stayed with me. I began to withdraw emotionally. Not out of spite, but out of instinct. My body knew before my heart would admit it. I stopped planning trips. I stopped talking about the future. I started observing more and participating less. She noticed. She called me out on it. Said I was acting distant, that I wasn't being myself. The irony was unbearable. But I didn't say anything. Not yet. I started doing my own quiet investigating. I wasn't trying to be sneaky, I just needed to understand. I checked the metadata on some of the pictures she'd sent me. They didn't line up with what she said. One photo she claimed was from her backyard had GPS data from a completely different city, the one where that man lived. Another video she sent during Easter, supposedly at home with family, matched a public post made by that man. The kitchen was the same. And still, I said nothing. Because I wanted her to tell me. But she never did. Instead, she doubled down on the performance. She sent more affectionate texts. She even brought up the idea of me visiting again. All while, as I later found out, she was living with him, helping raise his daughters, participating in his world. She never slipped. Never apologized. Never faltered. Until I pushed. One last time. I told her I needed honesty. That I deserved the truth. That if there was someone else, I could handle it, but I needed her to say it. Not to protect me, but to respect me. She waited an entire day before responding. And then, the message came. I'm just going to have to inform you now and going forward that I am no longer interested in communicating with you at all. As you have noticed over this past year, I have lacked communication on all levels from past issues and also respecting my current relationship. Please respect my space as I would like to give my full attention to where I am currently in life and my relationship with my man. That was it. The first and only acknowledgement that there was someone else. No apology. No admission. No explanation. Just a sterile, detached statement meant to close the chapter she had already been rewriting in her own mind. I didn't respond with rage. I didn't beg. I didn't try to argue. Instead, I just wrote her one final message. Calm. Direct. I told her I knew. That I had known. That I didn't need details, because the silence over the last year had spoken loudly enough. I told her I hoped she found peace, even if it came through lies. And then I let go. It's strange how quickly life shifts after someone walks away, not with a slam, but with a silent, cold turn of the handle. One moment you're part of someone's daily routine, and the next, you're a ghost in your own memories. After her final message, I felt like I had been hollowed out. There wasn't rage or tears, not immediately. Just silence. An echo. The void left by unanswered questions and unfulfilled promises. I still had texts from just weeks prior, intimate, affectionate messages where she talked about seeing me, about children, about our future. I kept scrolling through them, rereading them like they were fiction written in my name. It didn't make sense. How could someone live such a lie for so long? With such ease? I couldn't help but wonder who she really was. The Sarah I knew or thought I knew was kind, empathetic, grounded. But the woman who had orchestrated this year-long double life was someone else entirely. She had deceived not just me, but also the man she lived with. Had he ever asked questions? Had he ever seen the signs? I thought about telling him. I had the receipts. Screenshots. Videos. I had the Easter clip where she told me she was with her mother, when in reality, she was with his kids. I had the text from 2 weeks before she cut me off, saying she wanted to come see me in July. I even had the messages where she said she wished she hadn't gotten her tubes tied because she wished she could have had my baby. All of that while sharing a home and a life with another man. I drafted the message at least a dozen times. I imagined how it would unfold. I pictured his face as he read the truth. The betrayal. The anger. The heartbreak. I imagined the confrontation. The fallout. The chaos. But every time I hovered over send, I stopped. Not out of fear. Not even out of empathy. But because I knew that my silence might echo louder than any proof I could send. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to expose her. Because she had already exposed herself to me, and eventually, to him. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But lies this big always leave cracks. They always leak. And when they do, the damage is much more permanent. So I let it go. Instead of seeking closure, I created it for myself. I went back through all our old messages and saved what mattered. Not to hold on to her, but to remember the lesson. To remind myself that even in love, you must keep your eyes open. That even the deepest intimacy can mask deception. That gut instincts exist for a reason. I started therapy. I opened up to a few close friends. I poured myself into work, into fatherhood, into finishing school. I stopped checking her socials. I stopped wondering what they were doing. I stopped hoping she'd say sorry, because she never would. I wrote my final message as if I had known the truth all along. Not to spite her, but to reclaim my power. To end the story not as the victim, but as the man who chose peace over chaos. Some days, I still think about her. About how much I loved her. About how deeply I believed in what we were building. And I let myself feel it. Because pretending I wasn't hurt wouldn't make it less real. But I don't regret loving her. I regret trusting someone who didn't deserve it. I regret not listening to my gut sooner. I regret giving so much of myself to someone who was never truly present. But love isn't weakness. And letting go isn't losing. It's choosing yourself even when it hurts. So if you're reading this and you're standing where I stood, doubting, confused, clinging to pieces of a story that doesn't make sense, hear this. The truth always finds a way to the surface. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is not to fight back, but to walk away, with your head high, and your heart intact. Because in the end, silence is not surrender. It's strength. Or at least, I tried.